My name is Eitan. I broke into tech sales at 18 years old. I actually had multiple six-figure offers before I ever finished high school. Then I went into a 120K role one day after my last day of classes. Literally went to prom straight from the office. Then after 5 months, I was the number one of the team. I became an account executive at 18 years old. And then after a year, I left that company to start my own company called Skip to Sales, where I help other people do the exact same thing and get into tech sales straight out of their high school, allow them to drop out of college, wherever they might be. And I've done a lot of these breakdowns for over an hour about the entire process. I've done a lot of like FAQs and the most common questions and more detailed dive downs for specific things. But as I started posting here on social media, the testimonials, the case studies, and then just general advice helping people get into it, more and more of you guys have been asking me to just do a quick 10-minute breakdown of what tech sales is, how to get into it, and then I'm also going to be answering a couple of questions there at the end. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so what I want to cover is what is tech sales? What is tech sales? Oh my God, you're going to need to blur my handwriting, and then how to get into it. So for those of you who have no idea what tech sales is, it's in the name, right? All it means is just selling technology. B2B, software to software. So B2B, specifically, that means business to business, right? If it was B2C, that'd be business to consumer. So anything that you can just download on the App Store, that's a B2C software, B2C app. If it was B2B, it means that that business is selling to other businesses. So you can think of like anything for payment, for HR, for accounting, for sales, data, anything like that. That's a B2B company that's selling to another business, and every single one of those deals needs a person to first initially spark that interest from zero to that company, and then walk the different people in that company through the product and eventually sell them. So typically in an entry-level role in tech sales, you'll be the one sparking that interest at the very beginning. You'll be called an SDR, a BDR, or an ADR. All of those mean the exact same thing. It stands for sales development representative, business development representative, and account development representative. And all that you're doing there is generating interest from nothing or from a little bit of interest enough for someone to book a call. So it's kind of like appointment setter in a way, but it is 100% sales. You need to cold call someone, send them LinkedIn messages, emails to get them on a call with an account executive, for short, an AE, that's going to be the ones that walk them through the product, share their screen, do everything, and eventually sell them. And the reason that I advocate for tech sales so much is because of the upside and the barrier of entry. In what other industry would you be able to be making 85 to 95K your first year and very, very quickly, I mean, it's almost at six figures already, but very, very quickly be able to get to six figures in that second year as account executive, where you can be making 85 to 95K OTE, so that's on target earning, which is your base salary plus commission, right? So say 95, 85 OTE, I was actually able to get 120 when I was 18 years old. And then very quickly become an account executive. For me, it was 5 months. Typically, it will be 8 to a year and a half. And where you're able to make 150, 160, 170, and then over time, continue and progress over the years, become what's called an enterprise account executive, which are the ones selling those million, hundreds of $1,000s deals, right? And they're making commission on every single one. Let me finish writing enterprise account executive, where they're going to be taking those really, really big deals, talking to big companies, selling those and making commission on them. They can make a couple $1,000,000 a year. And the reason that it's so great is because of the barrier of entry in tech sales. At the end of the day, when you start as an SDR, there is barely a sales major in college, but even if you do, when you start from fresh, there's barely anything that you'll be able to learn about sales before you actually just start selling in the role itself. And there are little companies that prefer people with no experience just because that means they can train them from the ground up. As an SDR, you typically have 2 to 3 months of ramp, which basically means you're not fully expected to hit your goals yet because they're going to be training you from the ground up. So month 1, there's basically 0 goals typically. You're not expected to do anything. Month 2, you're expected to do 50% of the goal. And then that third month is when you're actually expected to produce typically. And the entire time, even beyond that third month, there's continuous training within that company. And that's why I always talk about it so much, is because instead of going to school and learning, paying to pay general education, you're able to get into tech sales and essentially get paid to learn that. Because you'll have your base, which can be around 60, 70K a year. And then you're doing that, you're getting paid those paychecks as you're getting trained to learn a skill. And then as you continue the day to day, you're continuing and developing the skill of sales, which you'll use for every other aspect of your life. Whether you want to have your own business or you'll ever continue and talk to people, persuade people, you'll be able to continue and learn that. So that's what tech sales is. Literally just selling technology. You can make 85 to 95K your first year, very quickly progress to six figures, beyond a couple $1 million a year after 3 to 5 years. And the way that you actually get in, the reason why you're able to get in, I already mentioned, but I'm assuming you know that when I was in high school, I can't just apply to these jobs, especially in today's economy, and expect to even get interviews. You have to do something called doing the job, do the job to get the job. And essentially what that means is you need to find a way through the back door, is what I call it, the backdoor application system, to be able to get noticed and get so many interviews without them ever looking at your resume, given you have no relevant experience or education. So at the end of the day, think about what you're doing as an SDR in the day-to-day. You're cold calling people, you're sending them LinkedIn messages, and you're emailing them. And you're doing all of that to book meetings for account executives. And when you can do that and reverse engineer it, because at the end of the day, why is education, resumes, and relevant experience important? It's because you're trying to show them that you can do the job and you're quote unquote qualified for it. But if you can just show them that you can do these skills before, then you can stand out a lot more than just your resume, and they're not even gonna need to look at it. And that's what doing the job to get the job means. It literally means you're going to be sending LinkedIn messages, you're going to be sending emails and cold calls to be able to get the interviews. And then when you're able to do that, you're able to get so many interviews, get better at them, start at companies that you don't care about as much at first. And by the time you ever speak with companies that you actually want to get roles at, you already know how to get the interviews and you know how to pass them. So you're going to be sending these messages in two different ways. One is going to be to current people at the roles themselves to get internal referrals. So in these tech companies, the people that are already there, the SDRs and account executives that are there, are incentivized to refer people, because companies want more people to come, especially people that already know the people inside. And they can get paid up to $5,000 for referring someone that actually gets hired. So when you send them LinkedIn messages and emails, right, in a way that just gets them to hop on a call with you, you seem like a genuine person that might actually have a chance. They're going to want to refer you naturally because they can get paid for it. So that'll be the first thing that you do. And then the second way is directly to the managers and recruiters. Because then you're just showing that you're having that extra passion, right? That you're willing to put in the work and show them that you can do it. And especially when you can do the things that get you to stand out, like cold calling, like sending selfies of yourself to the managers of why you can do the role and your experience, you're going to stand out like crazy. Because all of these things, the LinkedIn messages, the emails, you will get interviews from it, you will get referrals, which 80% of the time will get you interviews. But when you can cold call a person, that's the one thing where they can just leave you unread, because you're actively having a conversation with them, word to word, they're on the other side of the screen, and there's just nothing they can do about it. And it's much easier than a regular cold call where you're calling to sell someone, because they actively put that job listing up. They are looking for people to fill in that role, and that's how you're able to stand out. That's how you're able to get so many interviews until it becomes unreasonable that you don't succeed. Right, and in Skip to Sales, that's exactly what we've been doing. All we've done is we reverse engineered what it actually takes for someone to be able to get the role, and then we just put it in a system exactly like that, so that people can repeatedly do it. And that's where we've had 100% success rate. We've had Jace get a role at acquisition.com for 85K OTE, fully remote, at 18 years old. He had zero experience. And when he reached out to me, he felt that he needed to get an internship. You can go to my Instagram and look at his pictures and the story that he had. And Alex Hermosi actually spoke about it. And he was like, how am I not going to hire the kid when he used the system?
And then I was like, how's this kid not going to be here?
We had Bruce. And Bruce was struggling. He was in high ticket sales and he was having zero base, which means if he didn't set any appointments that closed, he made zero money. So obviously he was struggling. And then in 2 months, he was able to get a 90K OTE role, also remote. For Jace, it took 1 month. So 1 month. And for Bruce, it took 2 months. We had Bilal. Bilal was out of law school. He was working in customer service trying to support his family. He was making 40K a year. And then in 2 weeks after joining, because he was already trying to get SDR roles for 3 months, he was struggling, couldn't get roles. And then after 2 weeks, he got a 120K role. And the first role that he got was 1 week after joining Skip to Sales. And I can keep going. I'll talk about Zion. That will be the last one. He got a 100K role. This is Australian, so it would be like 80K-ish USD with the potential to make more. And 19 years old. In 6 days after joining the program, and he was already trying to get a role for over a month. And the only reason that they're able to do it is because we have an outreach system that guarantees that you will get interviews. Because across all of these people, everything that we do when somebody joins the program is what we just have them fill out a long onboarding form about all of their experience and everything that they've been through. And then we're able to customize an action plan of exactly what they need to go through. Right, so week by week, what they need to do. Typically, the way it looks is there's 3 different phases. So what I just showed you is the backdoor application system, but there's 3 phases that somebody needs to go through before they can actually get a role. Number 1 is just learning, because you don't know that much about the industry yet, right? You don't know enough to actually get a role and have a conversation with someone and show them that you know what you're doing, right? So phase 1 is just learning more about tech sales, the industry, the terminology, things like that. And that way, by the time they actually start applying, they start interviewing, they don't go in guessing, but they go in knowing. So they know about the industry, they know about the interview process, things like that, terminology, right? So we are able to then make sure that they do that in about 2 to 3 days because everything is there for them in one place. Number 2 is actually outreach. So trying to get interviews, right? Using templates that we already know work. And then we're able to use that onboarding form to customize them for them. And we already know 100% of the time these have worked. We just tweaked a little bit of things that are different based on them. And then they're able to get interviews. They do that at companies that they don't care about. They get better. And then after they're not as nervous, we make sure they do interview prep. And now not only are they not nervous, but they actually know what they're actually looking for, right? Because they're not looking for you to have perfect experience. They're looking for 3 specific qualities, which is being coachable, being hardworking, and being a team player. Oh, I think I'm back. Okay, being a team player. Those are the things that you're looking for. And if you're just able to showcase those in your answers and practice and doing them over and over and over again, you will be able to pass them. Because there's typically 4 different rounds. And I'm doing this whole thing completely unscripted. I did not plan a single thing just because I felt like that's when I can be the most authentic, talking to the camera and just giving a bunch of value this way. But there's typically 4 interview stages. So there will be a recruiter screen. That can be 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes it will be a phone call. Sometimes it will be a Zoom. Then there's the second round. That'll typically be with an SDR manager. The third round will be some sort of assessment. So either cold call or email. And then the fourth one will be the final interview / the panel, right? That can be with leadership. So there's different things, but overall, if you can showcase these qualities in every single one of them and you know what to expect, how to pass them, then you're able to eventually get one offer. These will typically take 1 month. So I know I threw a lot of you guys out there, but the entire thing will take 1 month, right? The interview process. That's why most people are able to do it in 1 to 2 months. They're able to then progress from there and generally just change your entire life in 1 to 2 months of hard work. Now, where did I put it? I put a section here to answer the most frequently asked questions. So I made sure. So can you do this while you're still in school? It's a yes or no, right? Are you able to do it? Yes, but I would not recommend it personally, right? For example, Zion, he was able to get a role when he's in school and he's still doing both full time, both college full time, and he's actually in the role as full time. But typically it will take like pretty much a 9 to 5, even if you do it remotely, especially as you're starting out. So you're able to do that and still do school part time. But if you really want to get your degree, I would just ask yourself, what type of role would it take for it to be completely reasonable for you to go all in on this? So whether that be your salary, whether that be, the training, the culture, and the growth, I would ask yourself all those questions. And what would I need to be true here? Like, would I need to make 100K? Would I need to, be able to become an account executive in a year and then make it? Would I need to really like the people? Would it need to be remote for me? And then once you figure all of those out, just make sure that you get that role. Go after that one, and then you can completely skip the 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars of school. How much time does it take to get a role? That would typically take 1 to 2 months. The longest one they took in Skip to Sales was 2 months. That was Boost. But at the same time, it also depends on the systems that you have, right? Because at the same time, like for me, it took 57 days. For Zion, it took 6 days after joining, but he was already doing it for a month. You look at Bilal, for example. He was doing it for over 3 months, trying to get roles. And in those 3 months, he was able to get 6 interviews. And every single one of them told him that he didn't have enough experience. So not only did he not have enough interviews, but he wasn't able to pass them simply because he just wasn't following the right things and he just didn't know what it is that he needs to do. And then after 6 days, he was able to get a role because he did the job to get the job and he actually knew what to expect, but he also vetted and was able to filter to the right companies. And that's how he was able to then land a 120K role when he was making 40K a year before, even though he had his degree. So to answer that, it can be 2 months would be like a rough estimate, but that only exists if you actually have the right foundation from the very beginning. Is there a possibility that I put in all the work but don't get a role? So we do have a 100% success rate with Skip to Sales, but even if you do it by yourself or before you join the program, and even in Skip to Sales, like nothing is guaranteed in life, right? At the end of the day, we don't even know if you'll leave another day. So who knows if they'll drop down to 0 next month. So far it's been 100 just because we've been able to really reverse engineer the entire process. But it's 100% possible that you do everything and don't get the role, right? There's always that risk. But then there's another risk on the other hand. I feel like I'm just writing on here just so that I write since it's sharing the screen. But it's really more of a guarantee, that second risk. On one hand, there's that first risk where you put in the work, everything for a month, for 2 months, and you don't get a role. But then on the other hand, that's when there's that guarantee that you don't even put in the work, and then you also don't get in the role. So in both of those places, you're in that same point B, but you never even found out what you could have done. And I'm like, at the end of the day, both of them can exist, but which of those is actually riskier for you? Like doing the work and not getting it, or just never even knowing if you were able to or not? Because I'll be honest, if you can do that, you probably wouldn't really be that good in sales anyway. How much experience do you need? It's an entry-level role, right? There is no sales major. They're going to train you from the ground up for those first 1 to 3 months. I had 0 sales experience. I sucked at the beginning, almost got fired, and then I was able to get better and become the number 1 on my team 1 month later in one of the fastest growing startups in the world at that time. But you don't need any experience. You need to at least be able to talk to people, or at least want to be willing to put in the work to get better at speaking to people. If you have any experience, that's great. That will make it easier, but you don't actually need any experience to start with that. How much money you can make? I think I'm pretty much answered that, but it'll be 85 to 95K your first year. You can then grow to 150, rough estimate. Second year, third one, I'd say 200, 300, and there's people making a couple $1 million a year. And what am I doing this for? Yeah, so I'm pretty much extremely passionate about this, right? I was extremely close to going to college because I just didn't know what else I could do out there. And I knew that I can do so much more in 4 years of my life. And I was able to then, in 2 months, be able to get multiple roles for 6 figures, getting paid more than most people do after college to learn this skill. And I didn't want to do it forever, but I was able to use it as a vehicle to completely skip college, get paid to learn that skill, and then put that skill and the money towards my own thing. And I want as many people as possible to do that, right? Like Zion, like Bruce, like Bilal. I want to get as many people as possible to be able to do that, right? And I actually left my role earlier this year just to be able to do this full time and help as many people as possible. So I make this content, I try and help as many people as possible, get them to see that they can genuinely do this. And then I have skip to sales calls where I do these one-on-one breakdowns with people to see if they can actually do it, if the backdoor application system could work for them, try and give them as much value as possible so that they see that I genuinely know what I'm talking about. And then if it makes sense, we can talk about joining the program. Obviously, there's investment for that, but because we have a 100% success rate, what we're able to do is make 80% of the investment only after somebody gets a role and they accept it, because we know we'll be able to make more money and just help way more people that way. So there is a 20% of the investment that's upfront just to join. Make sure everybody in the program are serious about this. And then everybody in there are super hardworking, follow the system, and then they're able to get results like this. So if you want to see if it's something that would make sense for you, feel free to book in a call below. Or if you have any other questions, just DM me on Instagram and we can talk, see if it even makes sense to have that call in the first place, and talk soon.